I'm a father of now a 21-year-old daughter. I'm always that whoever said, once they become adults, it's sort of like they're their own person. They need to be out in the world doing their own thing. That's awesome. And it's true. And you will never stop being a parent and trying to be there for them and be there with them, and learn from them as your teachers as well. And at the same time, I also run two companies. So I am a founder. I'm a leader of individuals, of teams, of groups. And we affect not just the people within our organizations, but also within our communities. So I'm always thinking about this very question on multiple different levels and layers as a human being, as a dad, as a leader in business, as a leader of community, and as also always a perpetual student. So what I'm going to focus on in our time today is some specific things that are more about the nature of how we relate to others and what we might consider when working to really help bring out the best in those around us. And the ideas that I want to share today, they're relevant in literally every context. They're going to be relevant if you're a parent or a caretaker or a guardian. They're going to be relevant if you're a coach or an advisor. They're going to be relevant if you're a leader or a manager in an organization, or just a human being that cares about other human beings around you and wants to know, how can I step into relationship with other beings in a way that in some way, shape, or form helps them be who they want to be and become who they want to become. So there are a couple of things that I want to walk you through. And as Brendan and as our longtime community members know, I sometimes have a bit of a different lens on this. And I always try and sort of blend the sweet spot between spiritual, science-based, and just really practical on the ground ideas. So the first thing I want to explore is the idea of acknowledging another person's unconditional enoughness. So many of us were patterned as kids to believe that we're only worthy of dignity, of love, of value, of worthiness when we meet certain performance metrics. So, the classic, hey, bring home an A, be the best on your team, like be the captain of your team, set the, like whatever it is, set the goal, set the high bar for whatever this thing may be, win the spelling bee, do your chores perfectly every single day. And when you do that, and only when you do that, you will then be recognized for the person that you want to be seen as. And the challenge with this is it sets them up to believe that just by being who they are not enough. They always need to perform and they always need to strive, often for some level of unattainable perfection. And that can lead to incredible suffering and understanding that often we do this with the best of intentions. We feel like if we constantly do this for others, if we keep raising the bar of their performance and their expectation, that, we're actually challenging them. We're setting them up to be goal-striving, achieving human beings, and that will serve them really well in life. So it's often not with any sort of malintent. It's just that we don't realize that when we condition our love, our praise, our adulation, and their feelings of self-worth and self-value on some external metric that we've set, some bar that they have to get over, what we've done is inadvertently conditioned them for a lot of suffering in life. And we've led people to believe that they, just as human beings, are not actually worthy of their own self-love, of their own self-value, let alone from others, unless they perform or do something rather than simply just being. So one of the things that I always feel is important to start with when we think about how do we bring out the best in others, let them know right here, right now, as they are, there is nothing they need to do to earn your love or respect or prove their value as human beings to you. If they try and fail at something, they won't lose your respect or their self-worth. Those are all innate within them. It's the simple fact of their birth that endowed them with dignity and worthiness. And there's nothing that they need to do to earn it from you or for anyone else. So to me, that's a really powerful starting point. And a lot of what I think about when I think about, well, how can we help others really rise and be the best they can be? It's a lot of subtle stuff. It's a lot of context. It's a lot of assumptions and internal chatter that people make that end up being the things that stop them. And I think one of those really fundamental seeds that we need to plant is to remind people, acknowledge their unconditional enoughness. It is not conditioned. Their value, their worth, their dignity, their right to be treated as beautiful, worthy, respectful human beings is not conditioned on performance in any way, shape, or form. So we start there. So that would be the first thing. The second thing that I think is really critical, important, is to what I would call normalize risk-taking and failure. So here's what we know. You cannot strive to be or become anything without trying new things, especially when you have no idea if you will succeed or not. Growth isn't about doing what you already know you can do. It's about doing what you have no idea whether you can do. And that will always involve the possibility of failure. So when guiding others in a process of growth, when trying to walk beside them and support them in being their best selves, don't pretend that failure isn't on the table. A lot of times we like to sort of like acknowledge, oh, it's not that risky. Oh, it's completely safe. We like to downplay the fact that there actually is risk, that failure is on the table, that the stakes must be high, because we figure if we kind of minimize that, well, then somebody is more likely to go and do it. But the problem with that is that we're actually creating a false reality, and we're training people to only go and do something when they feel like the risk is really minimal and the stakes are low. Challenge is nothing good in life happens when there's almost no risk and the stakes are literally so low they don't matter to you anymore. So when guiding others in a process of growth, just don't pretend that failure is not on the table. Acknowledge that, in fact, it must be on the table. And then show how that's okay. And even if failure happens, that they'll be okay. And that with rare exception, it's largely recoverable. So how might you actually go about normalizing risk-taking and failure? Well, we can just talk about it. And I think there are really two big ways: talking about it and modeling it. So speak about it openly. Share your own stories or those of others. I remember this great story from the founder of Spanx, Sarah Blakely, who shared, I think it was in her book, actually, maybe I actually heard her actually sharing the story personally. And she shared a story about how when she was a kid, every night around the table at dinner, like the kids would sit around the table with their parents, and their dad would kind of go around the table and basically ask the kids, so what did you fail at today? Right now, that exact same prompt could be offered in a tone or with an expectation that could actually set the table for shame. But it wasn't offered in that way. It was an invitation. It was actually saying, I want you to go out there and try things where there's a risk of failure, because that's okay. Because risk-taking, when there are stakes especially, that's how we grow. That's how we become better, more expansive people. That is the process of becoming our best selves. And he wanted to normalize that. So literally every single day, he encouraged the kids to go out and try something where there was a chance of failure, and then share about it that day. And by literally expecting that they would have stumbled trying something, he completely normalized the experience of risk-taking.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.